My name is Guy Meyers. I have been a home haunter for, like he said, 29, 30 plus years. I am a long-standing member of Cal Haunts for 15 years. My background is construction, so I mean I take much of what I've learned through the years with me in many ways. Talked about, my home is 30 years of Halloween stuff all throughout the back. I do multiple scenes, new designs all the time. And what we're going to help show you today is to add accents to your tombstones. Give you something to make it look more realistic, give you something to get your eyes to draw, to look at, something that's quick and easy and doesn't cost a lot of money. So we're going to start with the first product that we're going to use today. This is a play sand from Home Depot. It's about, I think, $4.65 or $6 for a bag of it. You want to be sure that you use the play sand. There's also a sand there called plaster sand. The problem with the plaster sand is that it is too coarse. It has not been sieved. All the granulars are large and variable in size. Whereas with the play sand, it's very fine. It looks a lot like a sugar or salt if you were to look at it. So this will be a bag of this that you will buy. You will also, it depends upon how long it's been sitting in the store or how dry it may be. You may have to add a little moisture to it. You want it to be able to kind of hold together when you compress it in your hand. You don't want it too wet. I'll show you some that I've got that we can't use today. I was going to do some big castings because it was too wet. But you want it to be kind of a medium density moisture, okay? I use Tupperware, the bowls from the noodle shop, anything that I can get from the 99-cent store or $1 store. You could use a shoebox. You just want something that'll kind of hold your component together to give you something so it's not running out all over the place. The next component that we're going to use, well, we're going to show you a couple of them. Warning. So these here are some different types of plaster that you can also pick up at your local hardware big box store. This is the Durham's rock putty. Great for molding, great for casting. Gives you a really fine and strong mold after you're done. It's expensive, and it takes a while to dry. This generally takes overnight. With what I'm going to show you, we can get it in a few minutes and it'll dry and we can move on from there. If you really want a high quality casting, this would be the product I would suggest to use. This product right here is my favorite to use, the Fix-All. It's the most reasonably priced. It's easy to get. You can buy it in 1-pound boxes, 5-pound boxes, 25-pound bags. Depending upon, how much do you really want to make? You can use that. And then this is your standard plaster of Paris. Many of us have used that for casting or making things throughout time as well. Again, I find that it doesn't last as well. I have not found it to be as last. These castings on this tombstone here are over 20 years old. They're out of Fix-All. They've been left outside. For the last 2 years, they've sat outside, uncovered and unprotected. So, this by far is my favorite product to use. It's easy, it's cheap, and if I flub up on a batch of it, I toss it off and I don't feel real bad about it. So, a couple of the other things that we are going to need, you'll need a mixing container. Any kind of mixing container will work. Old yogurt containers, cottage cheese, whatever you've got. Paper cups. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Most of this can all be picked up at the Dollar Tree or the 99-cent store. My favorite adhesive for when I attach these, I use liquid nails. It's strong, it's resilient, it's outdoors, it's a good product to use. You can get this in small tubes, you can buy it in the construction quality size, the big tubes. There's even bigger tubes if you need. For molds, throughout the year, I look for cheap, inexpensive toys, cast-off components I might have found from the junk store or garage sale. These are from like the Dollar Tree. So you want to find what your items you wish to cast. They don't have to be expensive. Just as long as they're semi-rigid, they'll work. The good thing is once you've got them, you can use them over again and make multiples of them. These little plastic skulls, you can also use on quite a few of mine. I use these wood moldings, wood trims to outline and put around, yes. A little more expensive, but again, once you have them, you use one set for a tombstone, you've spent your $6 and you don't have them for anything else. You buy them this way, cast them, you can cast as many as you want. Now, one of the happy accidents is I use these, if I cast one and it breaks, that's actually a good thing. I'll glue it on the tombstone broken and make sure I crack and show the paint in it that it was broke as I applied it to the tombstone. So here's a big one that I sand cast. So you can make bigger size castings. You're not limited to small ones. We're going to show you small ones today only because the temperature and the time that we have, I can't cast a big one. So this one was made up, set overnight, uncasted, then I brushed it off, sanded it a little bit. Now I can make as many of these as I want for at any time, put on something.
And you use the Fix-It-All to
I'm
cast,
sorry?
You use the Fix-It-All to cast that?
Yes,
yeah?
Yes, that's just Fix-All. Just bland, Steno, Fix-All. Another product that I didn't bring is like patching cement, concrete. You can buy sometimes small boxes of patching concrete if you wanted to make them out of concrete. That tends to be a lot more money and very expensive. One other product that we can use as well, that I'm going to show you today, hot glue. Really fast. This will set up quickly, give you a nice little mold. Problem with hot glue is it's a little more expensive as opposed to the plaster. So we'll go ahead and start. We're going to make a couple. We'll see how fast we get a couple to show up for you. I've got one that's here that's trying to dry. It's having some challenges today. Oh, there we go. We're going to be all right. All right. We're going to let that dry and then I'll show you that one in just a moment. So this is just some Fix-All in a mixing container. Standard paper cup. Get a new stick because I got lots of them. So I'm going to take my templates. I'm going to kind of smooth my sand out just a little bit. Then I'm going to take it, and depending upon the depth that you want it, you can keep them shallow, they'll dry quickly. You take them deeper, it takes it a little longer for that to dry. You go ahead, you press it down in there, and then just lift out. You don't like it? Great, not a problem. All right, I'll fix that one, and it's that fast. Now, if you were making a rubber mold or making a silicone mold and you screw it up, there's no way to fix that without using some expensive components to remake that. So again, take it down, push it down in there. I give it just a little wiggle, lift it straight up, okay? Make a couple of them here because I'm going to cast a couple different versions for you real quick. So, I take some Fix-All, put it in my paper cup, add a little bit of standard good old water. Now, like I said, I mix it till it's about like pancake batter. If you mix it, when somebody put too much water, it's all right too. You're just gonna mix it all up. You're gonna want it. Good thing is there are components like we were talking about when I first set up, talking about resins and casting resins and doing that. It's a nice product. You'll always get a nice durable cast. Problem is this is expensive. And quite often if it goes or sets off, you're done. You can't do anything else with it. You're finished at that point without getting anything cast. So give it a good mix, good and thorough. It's still a little watery. said, about pancake batter is the best way I can describe it. Doesn't matter if it's got some chunks and stuff in it. It isn't. It really isn't that tough. Nothing here is that critical. Nothing is that perfect. So you want it kind of pourable though, which is where it's at. The state it's at right now. You're going to take it and just gently pour it down into your casting there. Spread it around a little bit. I like to make sure that my backs are kind of flat, and that way I can go ahead and glue them onto something. The good thing is, once these dry and harden, you can actually cut and sand these if you want. The product will let you, as long as it's thick enough, you don't apply too much pressure, you can actually get I've got enough in there. We'll try to do another one here. So I'm just taking my cast, push it down in there. Pop it up. Sometimes you have to manipulate it around a little bit so that it will flow into the casting. Popsicle sticks, craft sticks, they're your friend. Cheap brushes to brush off the sand as they solidify. So we'll see how fast these dry and if we can demold them by the end of class here. So once they have been cast, this is kind of what you're going to have when you pop it out. It's going to be kind of covered in some sand there. All I just do is I just take my chip brush and I just start brushing it off a little bit.
You take water to use water?
Well, the problem is that you could wash it off, because it's not dry enough as I was hoping. It would actually just start to disintegrate and come apart in your hand. It had this, it's been left overnight like I would normally do. Yes, you could.
It'd probably be easier to get the sand off too,
but like I said, you don't want to get too much. You got to remember it's a gypsum product, which basically gypsum becomes soluble once it becomes wet. Okay. So you wouldn't want to use too much water on it. Making a heck of a mess here, guy. I guess that's all right too. So the more time you spend at it, the faster the sand will come off. Now, since I'm saying that we're going to be using these for tombstone embellishments, really a little bit of sand isn't going to bother it because you really do want it to look like stone when you have finished and it's all done. So I'd spend a little more time cleaning it, but there you go, right there. That's the top cast right there. So dry. Then my favorite product to use over the top of them is called Dry Lock. It is a moisture repellent type paint, but any exterior latex paint will work. Spray paint will work. Anything to help protect the product behind it. And then you, like I said, these are 20 years old, been outside for the last 2 years, uncovered and unprotected. You can see they got a little touch up, a little wear and tear before I brought them along. This one had cracked and broke. Now, like I said, when I was starting to pull it, it was still a little wet, started to crack. All I did was manipulate that a little bit, let it set a little longer. You'll still see the crack in there, but that's not a bad thing. I'll highlight that crack when I put it on my tombstone, and it'll just show some age, time, and deterioration that would naturally be there over time. So, there's that one. We'll give it a moment more. Here are a couple that I've cast already this morning that you can pass around. One is the fix-all, and the other one I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that one in just a moment. Hot glue is a great component to make some casts out of. It's a polyester resin. It's fast, easy to use. We're going to do that under the same process again. We're going to take our little mold. We're going to put that down in the sand. We're going to pull out our paintbrush bristle there. We don't really want that in there. And then we just apply some hot glue. Now the nice thing about the hot glue is it will dry almost immediately. But hot glue is not the cheapest. I like to use the 99-cent store stuff. That's just because it's cheap. I can get a lot of it. And so you can embellish them, you can paint them. This was done with a little craft paint, some gold craft paint. I have some tombstones that have these over them. I have cast these out of Bondo. The great thing is Bondo is really strong. It makes nice detail. You can still see some bubbles. To help alleviate the sand, the presence of that overture of sand, you can dust your mold in a little baby powder. It acts as two items. It helps fill some of the fine pits that are in there. It'll also act as a release to help you remove it. If you were going to do like jewelry casting, there are products that are a little more different than talc. This is 99 cents, whereas the other is $9.99 for a container a third of this size. So, but you don't need a lot. You just need to dust that mold just ever so slightly, and that'll help fill all the voids that we kind of see in these here. At the holiday season, the inexpensive stores, you can find these ice trays for molds. Spray that with a little Pam or a little cooking oil in there. Mix yourself up a little fix-all, pour it in there. I've done cabinet knobs the same way. Once it's drying, I'll put like a screw in the back of it, then pop the whole thing out, and I have skulls that I made for some cabinet molds, and that's all it was just a template like this, some number 832 screws. While it was drying, I put the screws in the back. I can embellish my cabinets, and they've got skulls all over them. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Yes. The which one? Yes, you can. The great thing about silicone, many of them, it's heat. Once it solidifies, there is low temperature and high temperature. Yes, you can use the hot glue. If I'm going to a silicone mold, generally I'll go with a resin or a two-part product to make, because generally that's a finer finish. But yes, you could use the hot glue. You can use the plaster of Paris. You can use, any of the other products that I've mentioned. Yes. And like I said, you can make your own silicone molds now that you have these. A little home